Guys, I want to start by thanking everybody for coming. We do this once a year. I know a lot of organizations do it a lot more, but it's always good to see everybody gather in a setting like this, especially after such a great season for us. For the fourth year in a row, we set another record for games umpired in a year, 46,505 for the guys in this group. Wouldn't be possible without all of you guys. I sit behind a computer, kick them out to you guys. The guys taking the field, can't say enough about how much I appreciate your efforts on a daily basis. So I first want to recognize another new record, 6 brand new NCAA officials in the building. Stand up when I call your name. Fred Morrow. Attaboy, Fred. Don Crow. Kevin Jones. Carter Kaplan. Mark Rowan. And Julio Ruiz. So as is tradition, we're going to start with our annual awards. We have one new one this year, and I wanted to recognize Perfect Game and their representatives for the support of our organization. We have Bob Barth here, Colleen Barth, and Gary Wilson sitting at the front table. Give these guys a round of applause. So before we met PG, we sort of recognized ourselves as the best of the best, but our relationship with Perfect Game has sort of elevated our stature and reputation as the same gold standard that the baseball community holds Perfect Game as. So working with these guys week in and week out, to me there is no doubt this is the most pro umpire baseball organization out there. The conversations, face to face about what we can do to improve, they're very pro umpire, when I know you guys are used to a lot of negativity from tournament directors and leagues and playoff committees and things like that. They're always about helping us, and as an umpiring director running this thing, it makes it a whole lot easier, especially with the level of tournaments that they host. So when passion meets passion, I feel like we get incredible results, and they're about as passionate about tournament baseball as we are about umpiring. So the marriage, to me, couldn't be better. We're happy to have them here, and we're really excited to continue that relationship. So I want to bring up Gary Wilson, who's going to present the Perfect Game Umpire of the Year Award to our selected umpire.
How you doing, guys? My name is Gary. I work for Perfect Game. I'm the Mid-Atlantic Regional Director. In the past 5 years, we've really stayed in the South Jersey and Staten Island areas. This year, we've expanded into from North Carolina up to New York. And John's helped us, run clinics in different areas of the region to bring on new umpires. We're really excited to work with you guys and John in expanding the region. Like John said, it's been a really good relationship, not only with John, but I've got to know many of the umpires here coming to what are they, evaluations or clinics and stuff like that. It's just been great, and I'm looking forward to the future. But John did ask me to come up here today and present Perfect Game Umpire of the Year. And instead of just calling out his name, I want to tell you a little bit about why he's deserving of this award. And the first thing, I wrote some bullet notes because I'm not the best at public speaking, but he's always early. So, when I come to these clinics and evaluations, I don't know the names of them, but John asked me to say, what's Perfect Game looking for in an umpire, for the Umpire Association. So I wrote some of the things down that I look for in an umpire, and when he asked me to name the Umpire of the Year, I wanted to find a guy who met all of these bullet points for 2018 season. So the first thing I wrote was always early. So just to let you guys know, as a tournament director, if I'm sitting at a field or a complex and it's 15 minutes before game time, first game, and I don't see umpires in the parking lot, like, I stress out. And I ask John for your number, and I call you, and I say, where the hell are you? And I don't really want to do that. I'd rather you just be there and allow me to count on you to be there. Second thing I wrote down was pleasant. Right? I don't want a guy coming to the field or a girl coming to the field that is just, a dick. I want them to be pleasant, not only with, not really with me. I mean, sometimes with me, but like my customers. My customers are the people who put food on my table, who, allow us to employ you to come do the game. So if the customers aren't happy, they're not going to come back. And if the umpires, are pleasant with the customers, then I don't have to worry about that. I like when the umpires stay to observe other umpires, and that's what this guy has done. I watched it all year, even if he, wasn't umpiring a championship game. He was at the championship, observing the other umpires, seeing what they, did better, or I don't know, just seeing what they did to deserve to be in that championship game. And the last thing I wrote down was just constantly improving. And I saw this guy improve. I've been doing this for 3-4 years now, continuously, full time. And I just seen this guy improve, and want to be better and work harder at being better. So to present the Perfect Game 2018 Umpire Award, Nick Giaconetta.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Our next award is a very, very close to my heart because, as you guys know, the South Jersey Men's Senior Baseball League certainly holds a special spot in where we evolved from. So we have President Lou Marshall sitting up front. Give him a round of applause. The crazy thing about Lou is, if you know anything about our evolution, the SJMSBL and Lou committed to us in a time when it was not that easy to do. Looking around here with all these qualified umpires in the room, it's easy to commit to us now with the track record, and we do PG, we do this, we do that, high schools and the whole deal. That was not the case back when, what year was it? 8 years ago. So that was against the grain decision. I was 22. Turning over a semi-professional baseball league that's one of the largest in the region was just something that totally put us on the map. And we are, and I am, forever indebted to that decision and that trust that was put in me. Lou's foresight that our model for training and supplying umpires was better and different is just the thing that brought this all home. So no matter how big we get, I say it all the time, not that I'm interviewed frequently, but if I ever am, it goes back to the SJMSBL and that foresight to choose us over an organization that might have been around for 50 years and a desire for something new, a different way of training umpires, a different standard that I think we've provided. So that foresight should definitely be applauded, and it's certainly appreciated by me. The most seamless relationship we have between umpire and league or organization is this one right here. Something goes down, something crazy happens. I know ejections were up last year, but it's all worked out between me, Lou, and Neil, their vice president, and another super pro umpire organization that we're just very fortunate to have our back. So Lou has his own award, and he's going to present to the SJMSBL Umpire of the Year, and I think there's another little something that Lou has for another umpire.
Well, John was 22, and I was 52, so some years have passed, but over the years I can't express my gratitude to you guys. You've always been there for us. You're there every Sunday. I know it's not easy umpiring men's baseball games, because, you know, everyone that plays men's baseball games are the greatest players that ever played the game. So, you know, I know you guys have your hands full, but I appreciate your dedication to our league and always being there. There's never been a Sunday where we haven't had umpires at the field, and that can't be said for every other men's league out there. And that's a tribute to John and all you guys out there. Every year, over I guess it's the past 3 years, you asked me to present the Umpire of the Year award, and we usually have a league meeting ourselves at that time, so I haven't been able to attend. And we have the past 2 winners sitting right up here with Kurt and Rich. So I'm here now, so congratulations. Anyway, this year's winner I first met probably 15 years or so in a playoff game, and I was pitching, and this big guy came to the plate, and my catcher walked out to me and says, "What are we going to do with him?" And I says, "A whole lot of strike zone there." I said, "I'm just going to go right at him." And there was sometimes he got me over the years, and I got him, but what we both got out of it was friends for life. And so this year's South Jersey Men's Senior Baseball League Umpire of the Year goes to my friend Kevin Jones. Everybody knows Kevin, he's just trying to make it. As you all know, every year the South Jersey Men's Baseball League runs a charity event, Toys for Tots and a holiday food drive, and we bring the kids up from North Camden to play in a game at Cherry Hill National Little League, which has become near and dear to my heart and a big part of the fabric of our league. Last year at this event, one of the kids showed up without a glove. And there was an umpire out there, Don Crow, who gave the kid a glove and said, "Respect the game, this glove's for yours, enjoy it," and gave the glove to the kid to keep. And as a token of the South Jersey MSBL, I'd like to replace that glove with Don right now.
We always save our nearest and dearest award for last. Some of you, we've got a lot of new guys if you look around, so you may not be familiar with who Brian Hoffman was and just how much he meant to the growth and the startup of this organization. To take you guys back to me being 21 and 22, the likelihood of this thing evolving with the attitude that I had at the time and the, some would say arrogance and whatever else, but the sort of yin to my yang, if you will, was Brian. Brian passed away, unfortunately, very prematurely, and when we had the chance to have an organization of this size with a meeting of this size, we thought we've got to honor him in some way. Even with hundreds of umpires passing through our tutelage every year, I still have never met someone that loves umpiring as much as Brian Hoffman did. So we're talking about guys like Kurt who show up every single day to train our guys, even though he works a 9 to 5, Jerry and Chris and John Harrington sitting up front. No offense to those guys, but it's dwarfed in comparison to what Brian Hoffman wanted to do for umpiring in general and umpiring for our organization. Without Brian, the process and the concept of the way we do our training, I don't know if I ever would have come up with that idea. But if I would have, it certainly wouldn't have been 8 years ago. He was the voice of reason at all times. You know, if something happened where maybe emotions would have got the best of me in the situation, he was always there as the calmer, wiser spirit to help us build what we've now built. So he's not here to see it flourish, and I certainly wish he was. The hardest thing I've ever had to do in this job so far is when Brian was ailing and his health was very poor, and he would not take no for an answer as far as not umpiring anymore. He was about as physically ailing as I've ever seen a man put on umpire gear. So the only solution for me was not to take away the only sanctuary he had left, but it was to show up at his games for the point in time when he could no longer complete that game. And I would put my stuff on and finish the game for him. But he was at a point in his life where he couldn't complete a 7-inning, 14-year-old baseball game. But his desire and passion to keep doing it was something that I'll never forget. And I certainly don't expect to ever have an experience to deal with as difficult as that. If I could bottle that passion up and replace it and put it out to the masses, we wouldn't even have a disciplinary board. We wouldn't have any of the things we have to do to try to keep everybody in check. He was just a poster boy for what you wanted out of an umpire. And not only that, but a mentor to me at a time where this thing could have really went off the rails really early. So we're always honored to have Brian's wife, Darlene Hoffman, up front. As you can understand, this is always the most emotional award we can give, and I certainly spend a lot of time trying to decide who deserves this award. So before we present, I wanted to bring Darlene up. She has a few words that she wanted to say. Thanks for coming. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, talk about public speaking. I never do it, so bear with me, please. My name is Darlene, and Brian was my husband.
Close to the mic.
Okay. And I have to read, or else my mind is everywhere else. So bear with me, please. And let me start with telling you about Brian and umpiring. When he started something, he started with the passion that most people start things with. The only difference is that if Brian liked it, he became passionate about it. And it was apparent that umpiring was his calling. I learned more about baseball and softball rules that first year than I truly needed to know. And that was only before I looked at Little League. When Brian found out about classes that the IUA was holding, he scraped up the money for classes. Now I learned even more about baseball and softball than I could have imagined existed. Brian became more passionate about umpiring. Then he met this young kid named John. He came home that night and said to me, "You know what, Dora, this kid has it. He has what it takes to be great." To say he was excited, that's mild. To say he was ecstatic, you know where I'm going with that. Anyway, the more Brian and John talked, the more I learned about this young, hot-headed kid that Brian was so impressed with. I learned to understand why. When John approached Brian about starting his own umpiring unit, Brian was elated. He did everything he could to help John out. While doing so, he learned that his kidney cancer had returned. Stage 4, not a good diagnosis this time. During chemo treatments and everything else that popped up, Brian continued to do what he loved, going to training with both the IUA and TSE. He did both because you just never know what you might learn or what you could pass on. During chemo, he was so sick. He was having a rough time. There were days when he was really sick, and John would text, "Hey, I need an umpire tonight." Brian asked where or when, and there he was. He made sure he was there. Umpiring was his best. That it brought out the best in Brian, and it made him realize that it's like a family. I don't know any other way to put it. On June 24th, 2014, exactly 18 months after his third diagnosis, Brian umpired his last game. He had driven himself home that night because he had a migraine. When he got home, he was pretty sure that was the last game he would ever umpire. The cancer was winning and he was devastated. He cried for himself that night for the first time since his very first diagnosis. On June 28, 2014, Brian lost his life. Since that time, many a mother, father, or young man would come up to me and tell me such wonderful stories of Brian and his umpiring. These stories, though break my heart, give me such comfort. Knowing that people love Brian almost as much as I do, I can't thank you enough. Which brings me to tonight. Thank you for listening and hopefully remembering. I must say to the umpires that are privileged enough to win this award, Don Crow, Mark, that you must be darn good because you are following in some awesome footsteps. Congratulations, and continue to learn as much as you can, because as Brian said and did, you can never know too much about something you love. Just know, John, Brian would be so proud of what you've accomplished. Thank you.
This is always a tough one. So the amount of time and effort spent into trying to figure out who gets this thing every year is always tough for me. Last year, Don Crow was certainly fitting of that sort of undying passion, and I always look at this award through a light of passion, not of particularly umpire skill, although Brian was fantastic on the field. The thing that shone through was his passion for not only his craft, but helping others, no matter how early in the process or late in the process, to just lift umpiring up as a whole. And that's not all that common in a field where we're all trying to climb up each other's backs for either a PG final or an NCAA playoff selection or an NJSIAA playoff selection. He was fine with somebody passing him if he was the one who helped him get there. So Mark Rowan certainly embodies that passion. And if you know Mark, if you've seen Mark, his natural umpiring talent is the thing that shines through first, because it's remarkable how quickly he rose up the ranks of not only our organization, but then entering the NCAA this past year. But his passion for umpiring, once you take a step further and see him voluntarily at our training sessions to help other umpires who are probably 40 years older than he is, I kind of get what that's like. But that takes some courage, and that takes passion for an organization and umpiring that he's a part of, that we really couldn't run without him. So his appearance at Perfect Game finals and semis is probably an assumed situation at this point. He's there every weekend. If he's not working a weekend, if he's got arbiter blocked on a particular Sunday, there's usually a phone call or a text from me like, what the hell is going on here? You're not going to do 12 games this weekend? Like, we're vacation? Like, what's going on? So Mark's got a shot to go somewhere in this field of umpiring beyond a lot of guys that have the opportunity to get started in this with his age and natural umpiring ability. But again, the passion is something I wanted to recognize with an award like this. And I just want to say, Mark, congratulations. Appreciate everything you do for us.